Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cold Outreach Success Stories, where we interview regular business people just like you who have achieved consistent business results using cold outreach on email and other channels. We go deep into their process with hot tips around personalization, messaging, and targeting to make sure that you take away some good ideas to make your cold outreach successful. Today, I have on board Nikola, who's the founder and head of growth for Influencers Club and a senior growth engineer in Instana. Welcome to the podcast, Nikola. 100K emails per day and growing an e-commerce store to $2.5 million in ARR with that. So today is going to be a bit of a special episode because I'm really interested in deep diving into that and just understanding how this guy pulled off this insane stunt. So,
Let's do it.
Yeah. So to begin, just give me a brief background on what was the goal that the client came to you with, or what was the goal behind the project?
Yeah. So look, we scrape Instagram and have a database of like I think 75 million profiles now with email addresses and other data points from Instagram because while working in the B2B space, and I have done that for the last 3 years, I figured like cold outreach is really common for B2B businesses, but not that much for B2C. So with Instagram as a starting point, we tried to make cold outreach used by B2C businesses. And we started off six months ago, and a client came in that was selling bikinis, which is a huge, right? Like bikinis are something that every girl wears. So we started off with 500,000 emails per week, figure out what the best strategy is. And then once we were certain that, okay, we are on the right path here, and then we can really make this profitable, then how can we scale it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the whole story started. So nobody requested to send 100,000 emails per day. It just happened.
Yeah, I mean,
gradually.
I mean, it must be a insane day to wake up one day and think that, okay, I'll be sending 100K emails. It's like,
right.
Of it is pretty crazy. So yeah, before we dive deep into the process, I imagine this required a lot of infrastructure, right? So a lot of Gmail accounts, I imagine, or whatever SMTP servers that you were using.
Yep.
Like warming them up, making sure that they are, they're actually landing in the inbox. So what was that process like? What was the setup process like?
Look, the only thing that got us there was the amazing reply rate that we aimed for. Because in my personal experience, without having a lot of conversations in the emails that you're sending out emails with, then it's never going to happen. Like you will never reach a scale of sending 700 emails every day without people actually responding back to you, and then you having conversation outside those emails that you send as a cold outreach. That's how we started. We were very certain that our reply rate was already warming up our accounts way faster than what we've previously done.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we were able to kind of pull this thing off. So we started with a few. Again, we didn't aim for 100,000 emails per day. So we started off with a few Gmail accounts. And once we figured like, okay, this is working and it's really ROI positive for the brand, and how can we scale it? And the first thing that came to mind was like, hey, let's make more G Suite accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's hire people that will be able to respond, because you don't want to send links, right? Like, and especially not when you just create the account.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole warm-up process that we've done and that we made sure that it works, we hired people, so made a lot of G Suite accounts, and then we hired, our terms of hiring is 1 person per 10 G Suite accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Then we hired people that, while we were sending out a full scale, they were warming up other accounts. So that's how the whole thing started and progressed.
One point that I want to dive a bit deeper into is the reply rate. How did you know it was working? Like, what was the reply rate like? Was it like 15%, 20%, 20? Okay,
20. The great thing about the whole use case is that we are targeting regular consumers, right? Like girls, because in the B2B space, I came close once, but I've never gotten a sequence of more than 1,000 emails with 20% reply rate. Like that has never happened. It was great that we're targeting regular consumers, especially girls, right? That are not in the business sphere,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's for them, they don't get a lot of emails per day. So
Right.
they, if an email piques their interest, they're likely to respond.
Correct. So yeah, that.
So once, sorry,
Yeah.
I mean, I was just going to say that, we started off with an emails that had like 5-6% reply rate, which was, again, in our minds was amazing. But then improving the strategy got us to an email copy that had 20% reply rate. So what we did from there was just send that copy, and then a really small percentage of the emails, and a small percentage of the emails that we are still sending out are also testing some new copies. So we never stopped testing really for new messaging.
I'll get into the testing part a bit later, but before that, let
Yep.
me actually put some numbers, just to sort of get some perspective on how insane this really is. So when so you say that when you were at 100,000 emails per day, you had 150 G Suite accounts, and you were sending around 700 per email account, and so you were ending up with something like 105K emails per day, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's insane. So I imagine you sort of did the basics right? So the SPF, DKIM, and all that stuff, and the email warm up you did with the VA, right?
So look, I've never handed off work to someone that I haven't done myself. So yes, we did hire VAs, but we hired VAs once we were certain that this is working for us, and we got to a phase where we can scale. So hiring a person that should do the job instead of you means that you already know how to do the job successfully, right? So when we hire people, we gave them a script, we gave them a strict schedule to follow, and we equipped them with what to respond, how to do the warm-up process, how to send out those emails, when to send them out, and so on. So everything was kind of handed on a silver plate, right? And then they just had to take it from there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I see people making this mistake often. They say they think that I'm not able to figure out this SPF, DKIM stuff. I'm not a technical person, so I'll just hire a VA and they'll do that job for me. And it doesn't work that way. I've seen people get downed on this because they did not know that the VA didn't do the job right. They bought a list, sent out email campaigns, and it all landed in spam. And that's like waste of time, waste of money on the VA, waste of money on the cold email automation software you bought. And it's such a sad thing to happen. If you just read a blog, or sort of like got a software that sort of automatically tracks if your settings are not correct. It's simple these days.
So for example, we had problems with customers that saw the article and then figured like, hey, we can do the same thing with Amazon SES or MailChimp, right? So their idea was, let's just upload one email addresses into MailChimp, and then they're gonna worry about sending out, which of course doesn't work, right? So that's why you have to do the work yourself, and then figure out.
Why doesn't it work though? Is it because of the deliverability aspect? It doesn't go in the
for SES and MailChimp. So those platforms are made for leads that have opted in your marketing messages, right? So if you have friends at MailChimp that allow you to upload a list of 100,000 people and then send emails to them, then fine, right? But those platforms, unlike platforms for sending out cold emails, their job is to send emails to subscribers, and they really care about their IPs and their name service, everything, right? So they can't risk having a bad reputation. So if you now try to upload 1,000 contacts into MailChimp, they're gonna say, okay, stop, and then let's figure out, how did you get these people? What do you plan on doing with them? And you have to provide proof of those people opting in, rather than just you uploading and for sending cold emails.
Correct. No, that's the main difference between. So it's the difference of category, right? Because these platforms like a Mailshake come under sales engagement versus a sort of MailChimp comes under email marketing. They're completely different.
Yep. Exactly.
But people get confused often. It's a common point of confusion. Like, why can't I use MailChimp? Of course you can't. I mean, you need to prove that you opted in, right? You've got the
Yep.
Awesome. So you've set it up, and yeah, just want to sort of get your take on this one. Domain warm up, right? So a lot of tools are now coming out where they sort of have this warm up process done automatically. So what they do is they take a sample email, automatically send it from your domain to a domain of another customer on a domain they own, and they sort of warm it up that way. What's your take on that? Have you seen that working?
So I've used that with Lemlist, and I just found out yesterday that there's a company called Mailworm. That doesn't matter. So in my opinion, it helps, but you can't fully rely on that, right? Like I appreciate the feature, but in my opinion, if you just let those platforms handle that themselves. For example, Lemlist sends I think 2-3 emails per day, which if you want to reach a scale of 7 emails per day, 1 or 2 responses, it's nothing, right?
Yeah.
So if you're sending out a smaller scale, sure, it helps. But 3 emails per day out of 700, it helps. So let's put it like that, right? Like for me, but then once we reach full scale, for us, it was not really necessary. So that's why we switched from Lemlist to Gmass, for example.
Okay, that makes sense. And with the 20% reply rate, you might have more emails coming in organically, right, from real customers.
So yeah, exactly. But then you keep in mind that those emails get replies as well, right? From the VAs. So you are having a lot of conversations from one account.
So yeah, so by that time it's automatically warmed up. There's no need for.
Yep, exactly.
Cool. So yeah, let's dive deep into the copy stuff, the scheduling, and all of the A/B testing stuff. So what all did you A/B test? Like, how did you get to this 20% reply rate?
So here's how we do it. And I'm not giving out any advices in terms of like, hey, this is exactly how you should do it, but I'm just telling you my story, right? So what we like to test first is the schedule. So we create the same email, same subject. We test different schedules to kind of figure out what's working better for the audience that we're sending this email to. And we keep in mind, so we're not sending emails from, at one point, from people all over the world. We're focusing on one geo at a time, right? For example, this next 2 weeks, we're gonna send out emails to North America. And then after that it's Australia, then Europe, then Asia, right? So because you have to be really mindful about time zones. So that's what we test first. After that is the email subject. And we have, again, we keep on testing, but at the beginning we have 3 email subjects, same email copy. And then again, we try to figure out which has a better open rate. And after the subject, the copy, and the copy is again, let's figure out which email brings in the most reply rates. It doesn't matter for us, even if they're negative or positive responses. We just take responses as a whole, because in my opinion, if you made a person respond to your email, then even if it's a no, then it's better than just not getting a response. So that's what we did at the beginning. And then if we send out, 10% of our emails are always testing something. So those 100,000, 90,000 use the same email copy, same schedule, everything, right? And then we send out 90,000, but then is always testing something new. Whether that's a new copy, that's a new subject, whatever it may be, figuring out whether that can bring us more results than the copy or subject.
Right, that makes sense. And that sort of culture of continuous testing is necessary. I mean, even if you scale, because these things just keep changing and you never know like what flags the Gmail spam algorithms or what flags all of this stuff.
Yep.
Yeah,
there's a tool called Spam Assassin, which monitors, it's an open source tool, I think from Apache, that monitors all the email communications. I mean, it's encrypted, right? So it can't read your email, but it encrypts the message, and then it figures out like, hey, if you're sending the same message over and over and over again, that specific message will land into a spam folder. That doesn't mean, so people get confused a lot with, because it happened to us, right? People get confused a lot with one specific email landing into a spam folder. So I haven't mentioned that in the blog post, unfortunately, because I just did that in like literally one night. I tried to put the experience out there, so I kind of forgot about a few things. I'll update it though. So it can happen that your specific email copy, if you're sending it out thousands and thousands of times, will be into the spam folder, but just in the wording of it, you can get out of the spam folder. Literally the same message, just different words. So that can get you out.
Oh,
that's what happened to us on 2 occasions, but it wasn't easy.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense because Gmail has enforced encryption, right? A lot of these tools enforce encryption. So when you just encrypt the message, it's not like they can read it. It's just a bunch of, gibberish.
Yep.
But if it's the same gibberish being repeated to like 90,000 cold emails, it's easy to spot, right?
Yep, exactly.
So getting the data, how did you sort of get the data, and like what was the whole strategy look like? How did you segment it? How did you sort of filter it? What was the whole data collection process like?
So a lot of people get confused. Whenever somebody posts this article in a Facebook group, I always hear comments about, this can't be personalized, it's just straight out spam, which of course, cold email, is something where you cold email someone, but it's not like, we try to be as specific as possible. And here's how we do that. The reason why we started with Instagram is that there are a lot of data points that you can get, which is certain words in the bio, certain category. Then we also, like there's 28 data points that we have. But other than those, you can figure out the gender of the profile. And then what we also do is, we haven't launched this, so it's not officially live yet, but we use it. We have an image classifiers built with TensorFlow and OpenCV that kind of looks at the profile's images and then figures out what their interests are. So you can kind of inject that messaging into it. It's as personalized as you can get with an outbound email, because we have the name, we have where the person is from, what their interests are, what the category of the profile is, some keywords in the bio. Like for example, one day we only email CrossFit people with a specific message about CrossFit, stuff like that, right? That's what we use to kind of personalize the messaging. And as I mentioned in the beginning, like the way that we get data is that we have thousands and thousands of profiles created on Instagram for a simple reason of the data on Instagram is public and those people are agreeing to be contacted. So even by GDPR laws, CCPA, whatever it may be, those persons are opting into communication from other Instagram users. So that's why we kind of decided to go.
Yeah, the image classification stuff is like next level stuff, man. I mean, that's really interesting.
Yeah, we're not doing that at scale, right? At least not still. So we use it for some profiles. It's for our own internal use, but we are hoping to get that out as quickly as possible.
Yeah. So like just paint me a sort of a more in-depth picture. So what does that email look like? I mean, how long is it? So you, for example, if you're reaching out to the CrossFit person, what does that email look like in a bit more detail?
So we tend to be really, I like short emails. I like emails that are straight to the point. So we kind of make it clear. Yes,
short though, less than 50 words, or what's the?
Oh, I don't know the word thing. It just looks small.
It looks
that's my yeah. It looks small. It's easily readable, right? You have to put a lot of effort into making a email copy. So for us is the first thing is make sure that you kind of connect with the person or just let them know where and how did you find them. So we usually make it clear in the beginning of the email saying like, hey, we find your email on Instagram and I can see that you like CrossFit, whatever it may be. And then whatever our offer is, the reason we're contacting that person, and then whatever the CTA is, right? Whether that's you're looking to give them discounts, you're looking for them to join your community, looking for them to check out your website, or whatever it may be. But we tend to make it pretty clear and easy to respond. So I've done that, right? I've aimed for clicks, but in my opinion, at least now, especially in times like this, where we see a lot of drop in Facebook ads, Google ads, like the whole thing is not performing as it used to. Email is still a great channel for one-on-one communication. And then maybe even not selling to them, right? Like even if it's just inviting them to a Facebook group, community, whatever it may be, get those people to respond. Then you can figure out, hey, this is where we stand with the business, because that's a data that Facebook and Google and all these other ad platforms are not providing you with, right? Like on Facebook, you just see people clicking and then not ending up buying. Ask them why. And with an email, you can be really specific about, hey, this is what I'm facing right now as a business. This is why I thought you would be a great fit. But then if you don't want to buy, at least they're gonna tell you something. Like, it's not the right time. This is expensive for me. We don't like the designs. Stuff like that, right? Which really, really helps you out in terms of guiding your business on the right path with feedback from the customers, which is something that every business wants, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good point, because Facebook ads, you're on Facebook's sort of walled garden. Facebook controls everything, right? Facebook controls how much information flows to you. Versus on email, you're one person talking to another person. It's a conversation like the one we're having right now. It's just over text, right? So that's the mental model of getting good information out of email. So yeah, I think I think that's it, Nikola. Thanks for coming on, man, and yeah, keep doing what you're doing. It's really next level stuff, and I hope some of our viewers get some good tips out of this one.
Thank you too, man. It was really pleasure talking to you.
All right, man. Take care.
Yep. Thank you, man. Bye bye.